A Tornado GR4, crewed by 617 Squadron, heads off. But as the dambusters leave Kandahar Airfield, they know this will be one of their final missions. The squadron earned its moniker for its famous raids on German dams during the Second World War. Out here in Afghanistan, they're still called on to deal with targets on the ground.
There may well be an incident involving troops on the ground where they've come under fire and they need some air support, and we can provide overwatch. We may well just do a show of force, so we'd fly low and fast. Alternatively, we've got a graduated response of weapons that we can bring to bear.
But the squadron also has a reconnaissance role, an eye in the sky gathering information.
We can take a variety of imagery, and when we land, the imagery is analysed by a group of specialists here on the ground at Kandahar. Those products are then disseminated to all the forces on the ground.
They've flown 400 missions on this tour, and operations have changed to reflect the situation on the ground.
Recently we've been doing some support to unilateral Afghan patrols, so Afghan patrols operating on their own throughout the area of ops. That is a significant change, and hopefully that's something we'll see more of over the next year.
But it won't be the dambusters providing that air power. It's time for 617 to disband. Some personnel will become flight instructors or join other Tornado squadrons. Some will switch to working on different aircraft. They're going their separate ways.
I think there's a degree of sadness. It's quite a poignant time. I'm glad that we're able to draw this chapter of the squadron's history to a close on operations. I think that's fitting.
This isn't the end for 617. They'll reform by the end of the decade, but instead of Tornadoes, they'll be flying the new Joint Strike Fighters. For now, though, as they end their tour here, they're also ending another chapter in the squadron's history. My colleague Rob Olver's been hearing from pilots and ground crew about their memories of Afghanistan.
Members of 617 Squadron, the Dambusters, describe an operational tour that has reflected the shrinking British operation in Helmand. But it's still been busy, and as they say goodbye both to Afghanistan and to their Tornado-fast jets, it's a tour none of them will ever forget.
Because it's the last one, I think, the last one on 617 Squadron, it's probably got a little bit more edge to it, a little bit more emphasis. We wanted to come out here and do an excellent job, and we have done an excellent job. We've supported ground troops.
We've all got friends down there, so offering them some help on the ground, making their life a bit easier, it makes the job worthwhile.
We're not speaking to people that often when we're up there, but that's the nature of the changing emphasis in Afghanistan. As it's handed over to the Afghan security forces, the security's been handed to them away from ISAF, then you see that change. And I think we've been right at the end of it this time.
The hours are quite long, doing a 12-hour shift and transiting to and from work, and then by the time you've been to the gym and eating, there's not much else to do apart from go to sleep and start again.
Although we have been working hard on them, the aircraft have been better behaved than they sometimes have previously, which obviously as engineers makes our life a lot easier.
We have to go to refuel every hour and a half, which gives you a good sort of break through the sortie. And some of the sorties you end up doing 5 hours, but it's over before you know it.
The guy on the ground who's speaking to a Brit in the air, there's a little sense of reassurance there. He's speaking to a Brit person, not speaking to Americans still's good, but always nice to speak to a Brit guy when he's up there. In his voice you'll hear occasionally, yes, we've just had an IED strike, no one's been injured, just wait out. But it's all said in a matter-of-fact way, so it takes a bit of a time for you to process that information.
The weapons release button on the stick it's not the largest of buttons, no, but there's several other switches that you have to make before you release a weapon. It's not a case of just pressing one button. We've got other safety guards in place.
But I suppose ultimately it's your decision.
Yeah, as the captain of the aircraft, you have to be confident that it's the right thing that you're doing, but we've got a great team around us.
When you finish the mission and you've been speaking to a guy on the ground who's been asking you to do tasks for him in support of the guys on the ground actually out there in harm's way, at the end of it he just says, thanks very much for your work today, you've made a real difference. That to me is just, you can't get better than that. It's routinely on every day, obviously. We have to make sure we keep our skills in the dambuster film up. I think it's on looped permanently in the engineering section.
It certainly was for a while. Occasionally alternated with Top Gun.
And every aircrew member has to have a copy.
I spend most of my time in the RAF on 617, and being able to come here and do the last tour on an iconic squadron is a pretty big deal as well. So yeah, it's good.
I only went up to Lossiemouth and joined 617 in July. So although I've not been there very long, it really truly has been an honour to be part of such an historic squadron.
The Tornado is still a pilot's aircraft. There are automated systems, but it's still very hands-on, which makes it an absolute pleasure to fly.
I'm not going to fly again. Probably not going to fly again. Never say never. Not on the Tornado anyway. So it's been a huge part of my life, and it's a veritable old beast. But she's a good girl, and she's been treated really well out here, and she's done us proud as dambusters, and we can hold our heads high when we go back to the UK for what we've achieved out here. And Tornado's been right at the front of that.